I remember doing a thing years ago, and I went on this like big exercise, and it was like, I can't even remember what it was, but it was when the Army, Air Force, Navy, like ambulance service, it was like
Tri-service kind of.
it was a tri-service exercise. That's exactly what it was. And I just remember it was bananas, man. Like, I didn't have a clue what was going on.
When it's like very structured.
Yeah,
you're just kind of like, you need
There's
to do
all
that.
sorts happening. There was like body cleans guys, like guys in private ambulances and all that, man. Like, it was nuts. Like, folk were just like sprinting about. It was like, is almost like worst case scenario disaster happening, man.
You don't realise how it all works until you kind of go into all these kind of like exercises.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wow, it's actually... It can work.
It's a well-oiled machine.
It is very well-oiled, and everyone works. Every man's a link man. I love that saying.
Yeah, you said that to me when I spoke to you
because I knew you when I said I was an ex-para. I know the reputation.
Yeah.
And I know your head went down a bit. Like, oh, here we go. And that's why I put my hand on your shoulder. I was like, I'm all right.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Well, you're the second person I've had in the podcast in 3 weeks that I've met by a pool.
Really?
Because I had Collie on last week when I was in Dubai. And I just met him by the pool in Dubai.
Wow, cool.
Great guy. We were chatting away. He was a coach as well, and then very similar interests. And I was like, I need to get this guy in the podcast. And like, seeing you the other day, I said rudely, overheard your conversation.
Yeah.
Mate, I think when you're ex-military, you kind of connect the dots. Like, I seen your leg.
Yeah.
I heard your accent.
Yeah.
And I just I seen your tattoos and stuff, and I was just like, immediately just was like, I just knew. And then
it's like a brand, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, the guys, like, you don't realise until you're out, and you're like, oh, we all do the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, I've got friends even here who know ex-military guys. They go, oh, you all got that swagger in you. You all kind of get up and, you know, you just walk in a room and you're just like, oh, what's going around, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it is though. We all got tattoos, don't we? Some of the guys are covered, aren't they?
Yeah.
And then it's just like, well, yeah, like with my leg, it's like an obvious kind of obvious sight, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
But
do you talk to people a lot about that? Like, so, obviously you were talking to those guys. Did you know those guys? Did you?
Yeah. I actually met one of them. Actually met last year, and the other one I knew, but I didn't really know him well. They just kind of, I know everyone wants to ask, and for me, it's quite easy to kind of talk about it.
Yeah.
So I don't mind talking about it because I know people find it interesting. You know, and they're just very curious. But I know they're stepping very lightly because I know they don't know who I am, if I, you know, mentally suffer or anything like that. So one of the first things I say to them is like, I can talk about this if you want me to. I don't like suffer with PTSD. However, you know, if you, and they're like, oh really? Like, then they might start asking a few questions, and they're just like, so they just want to know.
Yeah, everyone's curious, mate.
Just curious, mate. I remember I always remember when I was in battalion and I saw an amputee. He became a Paralympian actually, and I always remember seeing his leg, and I remember just staring at it, you know, and then that became me. And then I was just like, and then I remember thinking back to that, and I was like, yeah, but that's what people do.
The kids stare at it more.
Oh, kids love it, mate.
Kids are like that.
So I just like pretend I'm a robot or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a bit of fun.
Because kids
with it.
don't have that bit that adults have. Like, adults probably make it worse.
Do you know what? I found in Asian countries and other countries actually, like, it's all right. Like, you know, the mums or whatever will wave, and then I'm like, oh, you're right. But in England, they think it's rude to stare. So I've only, out of the time I've been an amputee, I had one, and I actually loved it. One lady was like, when are you asking what happened to her daughter? And she asked me, and I said, oh, like, you know, I got injured in war, and I just appreciate that. I thought it was amazing.
Well, that's the biggest thing that stood out to me, look, was when I came over and said that, it wasn't what you were saying, it was how you were saying it.
Yeah.
That's what I was like, massive respect, man. Like, obviously massive respect for your service, mate, everything that, like, obviously that's happened and stuff, but at the same time, it was like how you were just talking about it. That was the thing that I was
very
like,
openly and freely.
I was like, whoa, like, that's a pretty significant thing. And as you said, I never even really took note of that when we were talking before this. Like, how many amputees do you see traveling? How many, like, in Southeast Asia?
Mate, I always say to my friends, I'm like, why aren't you, like, you know, why aren't you doing that? You know, and I have had some come and meet me, but a lot of our families back home and commitments, and but then they're just stuck at home. You know, just doing the little bits, and probably some aren't capable of doing it either, depending on the injuries. Like for a below the knee amputee, it's a hell of a lot easier for me just to pack a few legs, and it sounds quite funny, but pack a few legs and go. Rather than if you're a double amputee, you've got to think about, it's not just your prosthetics, you've got to think about, what if I get a rub, what if this happens? It's like self-administration to a lot of it as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of, it's a big effort, man, isn't it? Like, it's a big thing. Like,
Massively.
And then on top of that, mate, I know that you mentioned about like the trauma that comes with, like, if someone's got PTSD or someone's got like really like, I can't even begin to imagine like how much it changes everything about your life. Like you go from being this person to then like this totally different person, and just even getting up in the morning or managing yourself is just such a hard task. Like, to think about even going on a plane and going to another country and not being in your home where you know what your routine's like, it must be hard.
Comforts, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just getting like, I've always like getting out of my comfort zone as well. But it weren't an issue. Like I remember when I first going, and the prosthetic I didn't have was that good. And I remember like 6 weeks into it, I was in Thailand, and one of the leg actually broke a bit, but I had a spare. So I clipped it on and just worked out, like I had my Allen key and I worked it out myself, and then it was good for like another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But that's the issues you can take. But the leg I've got now is amazing. It's bolted on, it's done. It's like clip on, good to go, mate.
It's mad. You were telling me before about your one for running as well. It's like
the other running one, oh mate, like I could do that with some of the sessions in the classes now.
Yeah.
But it's good. Yeah, it's good.
Oh, that's
like
mad,
it's like a sprint with it, and I can't stop.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a new ball game, and it's literally like you just it's just like normal. It feels like normal because the spring in it, the suspension, it's incredible.
Yeah. Do you, when you, like, I was talking to you before, but I was asking all these questions before. I was like, I should have left these for the podcast.
Don't matter, mate. It's all good.
Do you get, like, obviously, I was talking about phantom leg. Do you ever feel like sometimes when you're doing that, you feel like your leg's just there? Like,
no. If I'm honest, no. Like, I kind of, got that in my brain quite early.
Yeah.
Like your leg's not there anymore, and I think that's helped me.
Yeah.
But I did at the start. I got a lot of phantom, like a lot of shooting pains, a lot of nerve pain. Like I was saying to you before, mate, like it sends a message to your foot. And sometimes now and again I do get it, and like I'll have a shooting pain that will last for like maybe a minute, 2 max, and then it just kind of fades off. But some of the guys get that all the time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I'm like, you get that? Like, they're like, regularly, mate, and it is causing them a lot of like aggro. Yeah. So I feel really lucky that I don't get that, or I don't get too many issues. Yeah.
What was, I'm trying not to jump ahead here, but look, what was like your initial thought? Like, what was like your first thoughts when it happened? What was like your, what went through your mind?
Have I got my man bits, to be honest? That was my initial thought at the start. Like, I remember, if I'm on it, like I remember literally laying on the floor, and I just literally just went, checked down there, and I was like, fuck my legs, like I don't care, I've still got that, I'm happy. And at this point I didn't know my injuries. I didn't know where I was internally, externally, but this is what fascinates me, like being in that scenario, and then just kind of, we're talking about kind of compartmentalizing things. And I was like, right, I've been blown up, what do I need to do next? And all them drills just started clicking in. So I checked myself over internally, and then after initial drill, then I'm like, right, what do I need to do next? What do I need to do after that? And I remember and then I tried to, move, and then kind of went from there, mate.
That's mad.
Yeah, it's mental.
It's mad how all that stuff kicks in, isn't it? Like,
just kicks in. It's survival.
Yeah.
It's just like, you're like, I need to survive. You're human. You just do it automatically, and you just go through everything, and you train to do it as well. And no one was around me, so it's like, right, I need to self-help myself.
That's madness, man. But I'll come on to that because I want to talk.
Yeah, that's why I'm leaving it a bit.
Yeah, I want to actually kind of go to like what happened, the incident and stuff. But what brought you to Southeast Asia then? Like what you obviously mentioned about being in the Philippines. Like, you're here on holiday right now, which I massively appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Oh, yeah,
on
mate,
your holidays,
it's great, and for an ex-serviceman, pleasure, and I appreciate you coming up actually, and saying I appreciate your service and that. And, that's a big thing for me when people do that. I like that. I really like that, because you know what it's like in the UK. People just don't know what to do. People do respect it, and people do appreciate it.
Just don't know how to articulate themselves.
They don't know how to approach, I think, and that's the thing. And that's fair enough, because they don't know who I am and how my mindset is. Yeah. Sorry, what was it?
What brought you to Southeast Asia?
Southeast Asia. So initially I just came out for a holiday, and then I just fell in love with the place, and then I've just been coming kind of back through ever since. So now eventually it's going to be permanently my base, I think, which I love, because I can just, 6 months maybe, could be Thailand, Philippines, and then I can always I've got friends in Bali, so I can always bounce to Bali, family in Australia and whatnot. So for me, it's just the lifestyle, which I think you'll totally agree with. The people, It's good for networking, connections.
Mate, it's insane for networking.
Everyone is like hustling and grinding on a mission, and everyone's got their own thing, and everyone's just like really easygoing. So you can rub shoulders with like really cool people, and like people will be more benefit for you and them in the future.
Yeah.
So it's just
the sauna,
phenomenal.
man. That's the conversations are at the sauna, man.
Everyone is on it.
Yeah. No, it's mad. Like I was saying that yesterday when I tagged you in that story, like
exactly that.
You just meet people and they're just like doing all. It was the same when I was in Dubai as well, man. Like it's just, and no one's like, you get the occasional person that's a bit fucking intense, isn't they, man? A bit woo woo. Like you hear them like doing their thing, like, but genuinely speaking, everyone's like, that guy said something the other day, and he was like, if someone's here, it was in Nirvana in the gym, and he's like, if someone's here at like 11 o'clock on a Tuesday or 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, he's like, you know, they've figured out a way to like make it their life. And that's very, very true.
Get up, you know, people are like I guarantee you at places now, and it's not just there, it's everywhere. People are grinding. People are there working, co-working spaces. They're up, they're working, you know, they're doing their own thing, businesses and whatever. And I think it's great. Yeah.
I was having this chat, I was on a call with my mum last night, and I was saying that it's hard to comprehend how quickly the world's changing now. And like when I told people what we were up to, like moving away, and like I'd traveled before loads and I've had an online business for years, but like people are like, what will you do? And you're like, I don't think people realize like how the world is now. Like you come here, you go in every cafe, someone's got a laptop. There's a dozen studios like this that are in demand and fully booked because people are creating content, pushing a message out there. Like it's almost like people have that like small sort of mentality of like, there can't be that much opportunity. Like no, there is opportunity everywhere. There's
massive opportunity.
And
it's the way that like you say, it's the way of the world now, isn't it? And it's the future. So you know, and I know these people back home, you know, and I was guilty of one of them as well. I'm like, oh, look at that person on the social media, you know, and all that. But then once you, but for me, like if I like, even I did, you know, like a collaboration, I can send a message. It might, if it can put one person, like if I can like even give it a bit of my story or create something that makes someone laugh for the day or someone and be positive for the rest of the day and think, oh, do you know what? Like this guy's got one leg and he's cracking on. Mate, I'm probably the fittest in them classes, mate. Like, and it's incredible. I find it fascinating. Like with this, and I'm just like smashing fitters, and then I'm like, this is what you do, and then but I just get on with it. I don't think like, but then people probably look at that and think fair, and that probably might motivate them to do it. You know? Well, I think it's the future, man.
Yeah, it's a cool place, man. Definitely to be in, to meet loads of folk as well, mate. I've had so much, like when I'm in the UK, it's been sometimes I'm like, who will I get in the podcast next? Mate, I've got a list here. I'm like shit, man. I'm like, I need to get this person on. Like, I spoke to this person. I had that great conversation there. So
they've all got their own story.
Yeah, man.
Like, they've all got. I think
everyone.
Bali's good for that.
Yeah. Do you know what the mad thing is? Everyone's got their own story, but people just don't know how to tell it. And like when I jump on a discovery call with a new potential client, and I'm like, one of the first things I say to them, look, is tell me your story. And they go, and I'm like, you have a story, by the way. Like you have, like you need to know what that is. You need to back yourself for that, because it's totally. A lot of people are like, no, I've not done much, or nah, my life's quite boring. It's like, it's not. Like your life's unique, man.
Mate, everyone's different, and it'd be boring if we're all the same.
Yeah,
that's the way I look at it.
Yeah,
like everyone's got their own thing going on. I think one of the worst things about social media is people look at other people and they think, and they just sit there and they're just like they won't do anything, and they think, oh, they would have an amazing life. But I've met people here, influencers and things, and they've got their own stuff going on.
Yeah, I try to keep it as real as I can on my socials, so like I'll be posting like value, insight, inspirational stuff, but regularly just updating folk, like how the last week I was kind of struggling a bit, man, like in the sense that like my mind was just, because I was settling into a routine, but I was just speaking about it because everyone thinks everything's sunshine and rainbows, and it's like, it doesn't matter where you're at, what you're doing, that you're going through some kind of challenge, you know what I mean, and
exactly
dealing with it, man. But like you need to, I call it the highlight reel, because it's like you just see social media sometimes, you're like,
it's that quick release of dopamine, isn't it? And everyone's like, oh, amazing, like doom scrolling and whatnot. But if you use it and like go, right, you know, you can scroll, why not? But then just realise what's around you. But if you're creating content and go, right, I'm going to delegate this time to create content, do it, bam, 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 then I'm going to read a book and I'll do this. And your day will go so much smoother.
Yeah, it definitely does, man. So mate, let's get stuck into the sort
Do it.
of the meat of it, man. Like, what, like, prior to, like, how long had you been in the military before, like, your operational tour where obviously the incident happened? Like, how long had you been in the, get us up to speed. Like, what did you do? You were in the Parachute Regiment. Like, I don't even know, like, the sort of the insights and stuff. So, like, get us up to speed. Like, what did you do prior to going?
Prior to that, I was just, you know, like after school, like I was always into my fitness. Probably fittest in the year, secondary school. I was always like that at school as well prior to that. And then college, I did like a 2-year kind of BTEC course, but it was like, you know, kind of mixed in with stuff. And that was kind of like an insight as well for, it's quite good actually, because there's guys who are running it for the armed forces and public services. So it's like army, public services, and then, you know, it's a good little group. We used to do, I think, like cadets kind of thing. And then you had like English and then maths, and you kind of did lessons on different things that would probably benefit you in the forces. That was really good. I'm glad I did that before I joined. Then obviously, then I just wanted the challenge. Then obviously, I saw the Parachute Regiment, like it's an elite regiment, and I saw that as a challenge for me. I was just like, what could I do that as? Where's my next step? And then I never looked back. I went for it, and then I got injured in training, ironically. But then I just thought, I'm not going to give up. This is what I want. But it's common, as you could imagine.
How long did you spend? How long did it get extended by?
Not long. So, you know, the initial training's nearly 7 months. So I was probably there for another 5 months with my injury. I mean, I tore my knee, and it's just one of them things that, like, you're going to have to go in recovery. But to be fair, because you get no rest in training, and then as soon as I had loads of rest, I became an absolute machine, mate. I was so fit. And then I had all that rest, went back into platoon, and then, you know, I was good to go. Just went through P company and grizzed that out, did that, and that's just quite, you know, that's like, I look at P company to earn your Maroon Beret. It's obviously hard, but it's like it's like an interview process. Like you do it, and then once you get that maroon lid on your head, it's like, right, cool, you're part of the club now. And then and then after that, it was like a sleep deprivation exercise. So we didn't sleep for like a week. That's hideous, mate. Like, I remember you know, kind of just digging trenches, a mental game, right? So you've just done that physical P company, and that was hard. From going from a civilian to a soldier, that's the hardest bit, because you're getting drilled into that military kind of mindset, you know. Like getting up, doing this, getting told what to do, and being proactive with stuff, and just thinking ahead. But as you're a civilian, you can just do what you want, really, can't you?
See, when you start out and you do stuff like this, like, I don't know if you can relate to this at all. When I went through like basic training, I was only 17. Like, how old were you?
I was 17, and I turned 18 when I passed out.
I turned 18 when I passed out as well. And but I remember going through, and like at that point, you're not emotionally intelligent. You're not really emotionally aware. You don't even really understand what mental resilience is.
No.
Like, how did you at the time? Like, because now I know when I'm going through hardship, I've got the frames and I know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, how did you compartmentalize things then when you were like 17 years old, going through such an intense training block like that?
I think for me, it was just the end goal. Like, I was going to do anything, and I did not want to go home knowing that I went for the Parachute Regiment and then I didn't make it.
Yeah.
Because when I got injured, I even had people in different units in the army, come and join the Army Air Corps, you know, transfer over. And I'm just like, no, mate, like, no.
Yeah, so what do I do?
Yeah, you know, this is what I want to do. And it's more of a, I think, and as well as that, I saw guys transfer over. And then, you know, went to normal line infantry and whatnot, and then then it's kind of that regret in yourself, isn't it? It's like letting yourself down. Like, you've gone high, and now you're kind of settling with.
You've not done the thing you said you were going to do.
Yeah, you know, it's just one of them things. So I think it's just the end goal, mate. All the way.
For me at the time, I remember just being like, again, totally different. Basic training. I was 9 weeks at the time going in and stuff, but 17 years old, man, it's fucking solid, man.
You're young,
and I remember, like, even when I spoke to you, like, I was like, there's a thing that I didn't realise I'd done up until recently that I always kind of downplayed, Like it was almost like, yeah, but that wasn't an elite regiment, or that wasn't the Royal Marine Commandos, or that wasn't the Parachute Regiment. And I remember being like, but it was hard.
Yeah, but it's still hard, man. Like as a young guy, it doesn't. You can't downplay that. Like you know, even going in the military, especially the British military, we're very. I mean, I know, you know, that's another subject of how things have changed, but it's hard, tough as a young lad, getting up, ironing your clothes. Like, I've never ironed in my life.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in fact, I told my mum, I was like, why did you do all that for me? Because I found it hard as a young lad. Yeah. And there's some guys who are, they're all over it, but then they just help you out. Yeah. Then you start getting on with it and doing your own thing. I
remember the frame that I used at the time, and it's something that I'll say to clients regularly if they're like, they're going for a big prep for an event or something. I'm like, just focus on a day at a time. Yeah. Because I remember just being so overwhelmed by how many days were left. Mm-hmm. And just being like, and I didn't know how to deal with it, and I didn't realize at the time I was actually starting to build like mental frames of how to get through things, like
day by day, man.
Day by day, week by week. And that's what helped me. And it's probably an element of stubbornness and not wanting to just not wanting to fail. Like it was, it's just interesting how like when you look at someone that's like hyper successful in anything they do, it's like, where does it come from? Like where's
that drive come from?
Where does the drive come? And it's not a big heroic drive usually. It's not like
just being consistent.
It's just it's like you're able to just like break things down and build a lot of trust up with yourself. And I talk a lot about trust, and it's the most important. You need to build discipline, but I didn't realize I didn't know what discipline was. Like I didn't, and you don't realize that it's installing discipline in you because it's building up an undeniable stack of evidence that. Yeah, you can turn up, that you can do things when you don't want to do it, that you can, and it gives you a lot of like, you don't realize all those lessons. Like if you at 17 years old, 16 years old, if you're putting them in then, like what that does for you going forward, it's mad.
It makes you grow very quickly.
It does. You get like a lot of growth, and like it makes folk fucking retards as well, man, doesn't it? Like I always say, it makes people either hyper successful or an absolute cabbage. Yeah. Because they have to be told to do everything.
You got guys coming into like kind of a initial training, and they're like, you know, gobbing off in a sense, and they're going, I'm going to join the SAS after Paras and all this. You're like, all right, mate. But you're a young lad. You're like, okay, cool. That week later he's gone, and it's like, you know, and it's like you can't handle it, mate. Mm-hmm. You can't handle that military discipline.
Mate, I always remember there's this guy, and I was actually talking about it recently, and it was. You know how scary it is when you arrive? Like, I arrived the night before because I came down. Yeah. And I remember just being fucking petrified. Like, went and got my hair shaved off. Like you're like, what the hell was going on? They're just like debilitating.
I'm all right still. Yeah. It worked out all right for me.
You just kept it.
Kept it. Yeah. No, I just kept it, mate. I was just like, suits me. This is good.
And I remember just arriving. There was this guy, and now you can have a beard and shit now, can't you? But like at the time, it was like, I think you were allowed a mustache now, man.
It's bad though, isn't it, man? Because like you like, oh, dark area, man. So I shave, then it would like 12 o'clock shadow would come, and I'm like. I have to shave again, maybe if I had parade or something. It's like 2 shaves a day.
And this guy, man, it was I can't remember the corporal's name, but he was stood at the door, man, with like his fucking stick, like looking at everyone just coming into this hall.
They're like gods, aren't they? At the time. You're like looking at them like that.
And he's like there, like everything's like pristine that he's wearing, man. And he's just stood there, bolt upright, and you're walking in like that, like looking in. And this guy, like, just hadn't shaved properly, and there was like bits missing and stuff. And he was like, what the fuck are you doing? And I think the first thing he said to him was, are you a football player? And he was like, no. And he went, why is your fucking tie like that? Because it was like, it was like top button undone loose. And he's like, you're a football player? And the guy pure answered seriously. And he was like, no. And he's like, well, why is your tie like that? Go fucking change it. Like,
it's mega right now.
Yeah. And but I always remember that the guy went and shaved, came back, mate. And he was like, at the door again. He's like, you've still got fucking hair there. And he was like, go and shave again. Oh, man. I mean, he sent the guy again away. The guy came back again, mate.
And didn't shave properly.
He didn't shave, but mate, it was like the guy was like,
he's gonna learn the hard way.
Oh, mate. And then like, I don't think he was in for very long after that. I think he was going after like 30 days or something, man. But I just remember being like,
it's so funny. Like,
it's actually hilarious.
I had so much fun in training, mate. Honestly, it was just like absolute morale for me. I kind of learned how to, like, I know it sounds bad, but I think this is what got me through it as well. Like, thrive off other people when they were struggling. Yeah. Not because like I was being harsh or like looking at them, but it was like, you can't go. You've broken. I have not broken. I will carry on. Like people will just break, mate. We used to have corridor thrashings for hours on end. We used to have a little bell in the hallway, and they'll be like, oh, I'm not leaving until like 3 of you, just because he's had a bad day with his missus.
Yeah.
Until
Usually
3
got
of
that
you.
bell in the hallway.
Yeah, the bell in the
when you
hallway.
leave,
You had to like ring it.
Yeah, when you leave.
And then, you know, like we had this guy. I always remember him, mate. He'd run for Scotland actually. Like Parks, his name was, but his build was like, he was really skinny, great runner. Just couldn't tab.
Yeah, couldn't put the weight on.
Yeah, couldn't put any weight on his back. And he would rock up to the drill square, and then it'd be like, you know, one of the screws was like looking at him, and he's like, Parks, why have you come to my drill square dressed like a crisp packet? And I'm just like, I'm out of blokes, but you know when you're sitting there, like blokes like, it's fucking shit like that, mate.
It's like,
like,
it was
brilliant.
like, I can imagine it's probably different. I don't know I think amongst the elite regiments, man, they must have to keep that there because they're fucking training war dogs, man, aren't they? They're making folk. They can't like, you can't soften that up, man.
They're quite good. Like the first initial 6 weeks are just horrendous. You hardly get any sleep, and then they make everything's like locker. Like everything, everything's got to be organised. Your admin's got to be on point. Your fitness, everything, and then it's just getting wheedling people out, and and then it's like, right, we've got them people out, and it's a 12-week thing. Then after that, we've got who we want here now, and then it goes up to beat, like, and then it starts getting more intense. Then the training just skyrockets. But it's a building up process. But they're really good at it now as well. And you might know him actually. A coach is my friend called Coach Michael Chadwick. And he kind of like initially trained the whole program for Harrogate, and mate, it's a fascinating bit because he built like more strength and conditioning sort of stuff into the army program, and it's made a lot of people more pass,
more robust,
rather than and like people who could like probably like back when I was there were, because there's people who are probably that little bit more fitter than me, but their bodies just broke, like shin splints. My body was just luckily robust for that.
Mate, I always say, when I was going through, I had really bad shin splints.
It's horrible,
like,
mate.
and it was awful. And I remember being like there was a part of me, like, when I was in, going, right, like, I just wasn't fit enough, mate. Like, see, to like I was fit enough to get through, and I got by. Like, I look back at my fitness when I was 17 years old. Like, I wasn't athletic, mate. Like, I wasn't good at sport. Like, and I got through it, and I got fit when I was in. But like, I look at like see you guys doing like a 7-month thing. I would have been injured as well, mate, because like my body wasn't ready to take that kind of that kind of pounding, man. But then I look back, and because I always remember going, would I have joined a different regiment or a different part of the military, a branch or whatever when I was in? And I actually look back and I'm like, nah, I wouldn't have been fit enough, number one. And then I also would have broke because my body wasn't conditioned enough to do that.
Happens a lot, mate. And then so many people want to, like, makes me laugh, especially P Company. P Company's go up, and like P Company, everyone just start flapping majorly because it's like, you need to do this to earn your lid, because obviously it's on a point kind of basis, and but it's nothing you haven't done before. But then it's just all these things you've done, and they just condense it, except for the milling, like, you know, it's just like boxing without the dropping the punches and whatnot.
So I done that.
Do you do the milling?
Yeah, not in the forces. Like, I done it. I went on this like years ago. A guy called Scott Brown done this thing years ago. It was like 2019.
Oh, cool.
And it was called Unbreakable. And we went over to an island in Scotland, and there was like, I think it was like 20 folk or something that done it. And there was only like 3 of us that ended up doing it. It was like 24 hours on an island, and it was just an absolute thrashing, mate. It was like,
fair play, mate.
It was really, really tough, man. And we done at the start. He actually got us to mill, and the guy I was the second tallest guy. I get put up against a guy called Dean that boxes, and he beat the shit out of me, man.
Mate,
like, he actually like it was. I remember like getting scudded, mate, and like, I'm not a fighter at all, mate, and like, I was just seeing stars and stuff, man. Like, literally like getting hit and like big black like fuds in your head, like seeing light.
If you've got a guy's experience as well, it's going to be a lot harder.
Yeah, and I went in at 80%, mate, and you need to go in at 110. Like,
yeah, you can't. It's going to be a long ass minute or 2 minutes, because it depends on how you perform. But I was going to go.
The longest minute of my life, mate.
Yeah, it's
and
horrible.
It stops when you stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's horrible, mate. Like, and it's no ducking and diving. It's just like go. And but then it's good. It was good because it just, like, people just, it's like for controlled aggression.
Yeah.
So when you get told to go, you can just instantly go, and then when you can stop, you can just stop. Like, because some people just keep going, and that's not what they want to see.
And then they're angry. Yeah.
Oh, massively, mate.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I was going to go against my mate as a grudge match. They do a grudge match thing. And this guy was from Scotland, actually. He's from Paisley. So you know what Paisley's like. And he was...
He's a knife.
Oh, bro, like, this guy was an animal, mate.
Yeah.
Like, I remember we're just mates, and I'm just like, and he's like, oh, you want to go against me, do you? And I'm like, I was like, you know, you're a young lad. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to fucking get you, mate. And then I saw him. But the screws, mate, the corporals didn't put us together.
Uh-huh.
Thank fuck for that, mate. He would have destroyed me, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have gone for him and I wouldn't
Yeah.
have give up, but he annihilated his opponent.
Yeah.
And everyone was just like that. There was like a little like kind of silence, you know. I went against a guy who's a Paralympian. Fucking, he lost his arm, mate, in Afghanistan. He's with one para, and then Jacko Van Gass, his name is.
Yeah.
And it was funny, mate, because like he grudge matched me, right? I didn't know this at the time. Obviously, I annoyed him through training. Didn't know it, and I was like, "Okay, so I'm not going with my friend. I'm going with you now."
Yeah.
Okay, roger that, mate.
Yeah.
Stand by.
Yeah.
He's tall, mate. South African, built like a brick shit house, and I was just like, look at him, like, right. And to be fair, we both went into town each other. He kept knocking, mate. He knocked me because he's so big. Buff, because you can't duck, mate.
Yeah.
So I was like, buff, knocked on the six, got back up. Bang, knocked up. Got him, like, you know, a few times. He was like, because his big guy's like, matrix it back up, whatever. And then we drew, you know. And then it made me laugh because when I went to Headley Court, the guy's lost his arm. I'm in a wheelchair and he's like, "Oh, Morrison, like, oh, it's good to see you." And I'm like, "Can't use that arm to mill now, can you?"
Rematch.
And he's like, "Oh, so he's still a bellender, yeah?" And I'm like, "Roger that." And I'm like, "Mate, how are you?" He's like, "That's the banter, though." Do you know what I mean? It's just hilarious, mate.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Yeah. Oh man, it's you look back at these points. Folk ask me, like, "Do you miss the military?" And I'm like, I don't miss being in the military. I miss the times that I had. Do you know what I mean? Like, I miss that I had good times and stuff, but I don't go like, "Oh man, I wish I was still in."
I wouldn't like, you know, after, you know, Operic, the Herrick, mate, I was in. It's literally like, it you know, like, it went downhill. So I hear, because obviously it was my life, and I love being paratrooper, mate. It was didn't define me, but
Big part of your identity, isn't
massively,
it?
massively.
Yeah, you wear it proudly, don't you?
Yeah. And but, you know, like, it just went downhill. So it's kind of like weirdly positive, on the positive outlook. I'm like, oh, well, I don't have to bother with that anymore, you know. But the guys, mate, was characters, man. You know, you meet some absolute characters from different backgrounds. That's what I enjoyed.
Yeah, it made me speak differently when I joined the forces, because I couldn't speak the way I spoke back home, like fast. Like really,
Oh,
yeah.
right.
And I remember I had to slow right down, man.
Where from Scotland you from?
I'm from just outside Glasgow, like West Coast.
Yeah, right, Glaswegian.
Yeah, so it's like my parents are Glaswegian. Like I'm from Ayrshire, but like you've got that sort of twang and that sort of like. So like I had to. That was the one thing I remember. But no one could understand me. Like everyone was just like, "What are you talking about, man?" Like, and I had to slow right down. But yeah, man, it was good, man. Like it was a good time. But I done the same as you. I done 5.5 years. So you said you done 5.
Yeah, I did. It worked out about nearly 6.
Yeah.
But like, you know, active was about 4.5, 5, and then it's it's just over 6.5. But it weren't. It is, you know, 4 or 5 years active, and then year and a half kind of outpatients and Headley Court.
Yeah. So let's kind of get up to Op Herrick 2011. Like, what was your role out there? Like, for anyone that doesn't know what Op Herrick is, so like what like, can I get everyone up to speed about what you were doing, what your role was, and then kind of like what happened?
Yeah, cool.
Just talk us through the full thing.
You know, like Op Herrick is like, we're actually there for counterinsurgency, if you like, which is known as COIN. And the job out of there was actually to help the locals and push push, you know, the threat out at the end of the day. And it was hearts and minds in some areas, you could say, really. Like depend, you know, when you feel that energy, like, and the whole point, it was there getting the locals and pushing out the threat and just and building a relationship in an AO, which is an area objective. But you know, my role in the reg was just like, I was a machine gunner. I was in a mortar pool, so I was in a rifle company. And we're like we mainly work from like a patrol base or a checkpoint. And checkpoints are kind of like, you're out in the sticks. A small man team, so you probably got your mortars, your anti-tanks, and you just pretty much just scrapping. Like in some areas, it's just like you initially going out, and you're like, yeah, we're gonna get a scrap today, because you feel it in the air, mate. Like the locals aren't around. Yeah, you know, the ground, and you're like that.
It's the Wild West, isn't it?
It's Wild West, man. It's mental, mate. You know, but then if depending on what area you're in as well, some areas are fine. We cut around all day, and the locals are happy. 400 meters up north, you're like,
Yeah.
Completely changes.
Yeah. So, like, you're talking there about, like, you knew that, was that every day? So, like, you would wake up and it was pretty much patrol every day?
Yeah. Like initial roles were like you could be in the patrol base and you could be, so you could be stagging on. Like they kind of did like a rotation thing. You'd be stagging on, which is just guarding the compound if you like, for like normally a week, and then you'd be on like QRF, quick reaction force. So if the guys needed you out in areas, you could be there, and then you kind of do a bit of a swap. So then you'd be in a checkpoint yourself, living out like just very basic kind of compound, basic amenities. It's like ration packed food, solar showers, which is kind of put a bit of string. You let the bag heat up and just have a shower. And then but from there as well, even QRF, you'd have like you get up, have a a bit of a patrol, probably come back, or push out and help the the company in a sense, depending on the op. But the checkpoints, yeah, you'd be doing all three pretty much. So you'd be guarding it and patrolling 3 times a day. That was tiring. Yeah, because but then this is where the whole kind of like no sleep comes in and stuff like that, and being able to function, because you could be tired, wet, hungry, even cold, but you can function. You can still keep alert, because every single day, no matter what I was doing, what was happening in my life, like I would literally go out them gates and I'd be like, boom, like what's going on there? What's that? What's this? What's that? Ground sign, everything. I was just so more alert.
What were you most alert for?
It's just kind of like, it could be like they call them VPs. So, because you think you're going to Afghanistan, there's going to be IEDs everywhere. Not the case. It's kind of like, but you do look in certain areas. You look for ground sign, but it'll be for walk of life is a big one. So, look, why is it a bit different than yesterday? Like, why is there no one here? Like, why we might have been in a scrap, and then we could be like walking into a VP, a vulnerable point, and then they might be like direct you there because they might be trying to ambush you or something. So we used to say tired legs are better than no legs, stuff like that. So you could be like, as the crow flies, could be a mile, probably take you 4 hours to get back because you took a completely different route. So you're alert for everything, mate. Yeah.
I remember speaking to someone and after they'd came back from Afghanistan, like during Herrick as well, when it was really intense, and like they were so alert, like in an alert state, that like when they heard anything when they come back, it was like, it was basically they heard a bang and it was just like someone shutting a door or something. They were like dropping to the floor still, like, because you're in that stress state for like 6-7 months at a time. It's madness. So obviously your role out there, so what was the day that the incident happened? That, like, obviously
when it happened, I remember like it was
I don't know what else to call it. I'm calling it an incident. Like, I'm like,
yeah. It's just like we're on an op, mate. Like I remember going on an op, and I remember, and then I think we went out on a night. I think like initially, we went in for this ID clearance patrol. So it was just with the engineers. We're in this area. We're taking this, like, some of these compounds over, so we've got better arcs of view. Because and normally, like, 9 times out of 10, you'd be weirdly like probably Taliban's just around the corner, but because it might have been more of an advantage. So this particular day, from this op, so we're providing like a cordon security for the engineers, or the ID clearance patrol, if you like, to clear this compound over, whilst I was waiting to get onto the roof. So me being a machine gunner and then my mate a sniper, we were waiting to go on the roof first to provide overwatch. Because when you're static, what normally happens is Taliban would kick off because you're static. They'd watch you for a bit, and they know you got you, and they know. So you're seeing any you're kind of looking around saying, "What's that guy doing? What's happening here?" So I was waiting for that to initially happen, and then we used to call the lane safe but not secure. So it's kind of like a pathway sort of size. I was in the lane, and obviously they're like, "Do not move out of the lane." No problem whatsoever. I will not move. Like, I know the drills. And then what initially happened, from my reckoning or from what the guys told me, is from the corner of the compound we think it's a pressure plate IED. So pressure plate IED is like a switch. So the corner of the compound, I think the engineer's there and initiated the switch. I'm knelt down at the time, left knee's down, my right leg's up, and I've got my machine gun here, and I'm just like, you know, got my machine gun I'm just kind of resting at this point in a state, and I'm just kind of looking at the murder holes, which are like, if anyone walks by, but we've got this all covered anyway, but I'm still like kind of looking at the murder holes. Anyone decides to like, anything walk by who shouldn't, get slips the net or whatnot. And then this pressure plate kind of initiated, and I remember like initially like a massive like bang, a massive thud, and I just, the force, just because I was directly on top of it, took me up in the air.
So you were directly on
I
top?
was directly on top, mate.
Fuck.
And then I took, but I think it was good that I was kneeling down, because I think if I was up, I think I would have probably, because how the IDs work, they would have just probably took both my limbs off, so I could have been quite a high amputee. But then when I was initially up, I remember seeing the top of the compound roof, which is about 10 feet, and I remember seeing it, and I just knew in my head that I'd been blown up. I was like, yeah, spidey senses were tingling, and I was like, yeah, I've been blown up. The next thing I knew, like, I could hear screaming, and it's all dusty, as you could imagine from the initial blast, and I could hear people screaming, but then I'm shouting, go through your drills, check yourselves over, whilst checking down there. I was like, boff, like, and then I remember like just thinking, mate, like, I remember like, fuck my legs, I don't care, I've still got my man bits. I don't know why a lot of soldiers do it, but a lot of the guy amputees I spoke to do the same thing. They're just like, Roger, yeah, like what can I do next? Or some of them have different circumstances.
We were talking about that as well. Like, it is something that's everything about your future. It's everything about your quality of life. It's everything about, and I know obviously your legs are as well, but like,
yeah, massively, yeah.
It's like a pure primitive thing to be like,
yeah, it's weird,
it's like, I can't, like, is that, like, obviously not the same situation as that, but like, I've hurt myself before, and then the first thing is like, you need to look,
you need to
check,
like say you're on your bike, bang, is it all right?
Yeah,
because I don't know, like, it's a lot of guys do it, and you can imagine it does happen. Like, blokes get fucking, you know, think they're ripped off, and I think like weirdly, like, we had these ballistic pants coming in, like, and they came in the day after that happened initially, because we're just waiting out on it. I did have Kevlar pants on, so I think that kind of supported. Yeah. But if it was a big blast and it was directly there, then it would have been gone, mate.
That's mad, man.
Yeah.
So like, what was the full? Obviously, you've started going through your drills. We've had a look down at your manhood. Everyone's screaming and stuff. Like, what happened after that?
They were just like, and then initially when the dust settled, after that, I remember thinking, right, I've gone through my, you know, through this, my drills, internal, external, checking out what's what. Okay, and now I initially looked down on my left, because I'm kind of on my side at this point, and I could see my legs being blown off completely, and my other leg's kind of like...
the left leg was gone?
Left leg was gone, yeah, and bone was sticking out, blood. And I was like, okay, and then I was thinking, and I couldn't see my right leg at the time, but I could see like there's a lot of blood, and through my trousers. I thought, okay, can I move? Is my next initial phase. Try to move, massive burning, stinging sensation. I was like, I just stopped. Medic, and then I just shouted for the medic, because obviously I think if there's anything I can self-administrate myself, I will. But the blast itself, I wasn't pouring out blood, because the blast kind of like severed everything, but there was like a burning sensation, so it kind of stopped a lot of blood coming, because it was just burnt. Obviously the bone was sticking out and whatnot, but it weren't gushing out, so I didn't really need to initially tourniquet myself. So I was like, okay, cool. And then I shouted for the medic, but they obviously, you know, as you could imagine, there's like, we just got like, it could be like a chain ID or a secondary ID.
So everyone's on alert.
So you have to be careful, because, you know, obviously these guys aren't stupid. They lay the IDs. They think one guy gets injured, we'll lay another one. The other guy comes in, gets maimed. That's two guys out, you know. because it takes 4 blokes just to carry people on a stretcher, or 1 bloke per person if you just lock them on your back.
A massive hindrance.
It's a massive hindrance. It's all tactical, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then, so they checked for that. Medic came in, looked in, and he's just like, right, do you want some morphine? I'm like, yes, Roger, mate. Got this one, like, they can stick into your sternum. It's like direct, and he just went straight here. It's got like this fucking massive needle, mate. And I was just like, get it in, because I could start to feel it a bit. And then I'm like a bit phased out, but I just didn't move. And then they got me on the stretcher to a safe location, which was 60 meters away. And that's how close you are to all, like, you know, the ID. Sometimes this is in a checkpoint, so we're out in the mix of it. And then literally, once I was lying down, I just kept going to the guys, check me over. The medics come out, I've got tourniquets on at this point, and the guys are I just got them to keep talking to me, because I could start to feel the pain now, like, you know, probably about 15, 20 minutes. And I'm like, just keep talking to me, like, because it's taking my mind off it. So just talk about, like, you know, like your missus, or like or some bird, you know, whatever, anything, just to take my mind off. Which they did, the lads did. And I was still surprised how I was, if I'm honest, because I was such a, like, no one knows how you're going to be in scenarios, and I was so calm, just calm over it. I was just like, right, this is what I need to do.
It's mad, the training, isn't it? Like, mental, how much it kicks in.
Mental. And then the MERT came in. Like, the MERT is a kind of like a hospital, which I'm sure you know, like the helicopter with various doctors and whatnot on it. And then they transferred me to the MERT, and then I remember the guy was there, and he obviously sorting out kind of the anaesthetic and said to sedate me, and he was like, right, you're gonna sleep now. I was like, thumb up, good to go. And I remember he just clicked it, and I literally went within like 5 seconds. And then I woke up, and then they kind of initially then I was in Bastion. I remember they tried to wake me up, but I had I think from the blast, and I had a lot of dust in my lungs, so they get me to cough and whatnot. And then I remember in the hospital in Birmingham as well, I still thought I was on a stretcher, but they're trying to wake me up. And then I remember my girlfriend at the time's mum, for some reason I remember her, like, you're right, Luke? And I'm just like, my eyes are rolling around, and I'm just on a stretcher, like, you're right, you know. But I didn't say anything. But I could see him, but I'm still in a dream state. And then I think I saw my auntie as well, and then they woke me up. But initially I woke up back in Birmingham 5 days later, from being sedated, and I had a little brummy lass, like, sitting at the bed, like, you right, mate? Do you know where you are? And I'm like, yeah, I'm an Afghan.
You don't look like an Afghan.
And I'm like, I looked out, and I'm like, there's a window, and I remember thinking, oh, I'm like, am I back in England? She's like, yeah, you are.
That's quite common, isn't it? For anyone that goes through something like that, they literally, because they pretty much get you out, don't they?
Bastion, like, obviously at the time, you have the best doctors in the world working on you, so they're just all over it. And they called it like the golden hour as well. And I think that MERT was there within 25 minutes.
It's mad, isn't it?
They were like, boom.
Yeah, it's mad. It's see, like, to put in perspective, like, at the time, like, that happening, like, how regular was that happening? Like, what happened to you? For people to get an idea of, like, how intense, like, Herrick was at 2011.
Right. They used to call this thing called minimise. Yeah. So in Bastion, and all comms as well, outside world would go off, and that would be, you know, and it'd happen quite regularly, mate. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it could happen every day, and sometimes it could happen more than you thought. Like, it could be happening, but then the worst thing is about that, when you know that's on, you're like, is it my mate? Is it someone else I know? You know, like, I remember when one of my friends fucking, you know, got the shit news. Like, it was an instant ID, and he went off, and I always remember it, and instant death, because there's an ID in a room, and we actually found this ID factory, and it was like a mega big find, because it was like 30-40 IDs good to go. We used to call them night letters as well, so it's all like information from Taliban and leaders and stuff like that. Obviously we took over this building, and then my friend walked back into the room, and then the ID just went off and just snapped his neck straight away, so it was instant. But I remember just the realism of it as well, just to kind of emphasise it a little bit. We went to Camp Bastion to kind of give him a send off, and then there was 2 lads from another battalion in the paras that I knew. I didn't hear about this because obviously they're working in a different AO, you know, but you do hear about it. But obviously it just kind of, I think it happened recently. They kind of did a send off together, and it's 2 of my mates. So I had 3 of my mates just looking at this, and I remember turning to my mate, and I was like, fucking hell, that's, you know, it's fucking, that's Henry, mate, and that's fucking Conrad. What the fuck, mate? Like, and he's like, yeah, I know, but you're just kind of like in this middle of the parade, and I was like, he just went boff, mate. It hit me. Like, I was on, you know, I was in Colchester, like on the one of them was on training with, and then one was I was on the piss with, like before we deployed.
It's so sad, isn't it?
It's horrible, mate. Yeah, that's the worst thing for me. Like, decent lads.
I spoke to a young guy recently that basically goes to my gym, and he's 17 and really lovely guy, and he was basically asking me about the forces, and he was like, would you recommend it? And I was like, well, what would you want to do, mate? I was like, the forces is a big thing. I was like, you want to go to war, mate? Like, that's the big question. I mean, there's a lot of things going on right now, and like there's probably a high likelihood that you're going to go to
potentially.
I was like, and because I think that's the question. Like, when you're young, and it's like you want to do it for the credibility, for serving, but then that is the big question, isn't it? Depending on where you go, what you join, when you join. Like, do you want to put yourself in a situation like that?
Yeah, and if it's a young lad, you got to emphasise that, because it, like I said to you, there'll always be a war, and it happens. And if you're willing to do that, you know, if you just want the experience, or you actually want to do that, cool. Like, you know, but like, it depends what experience you want to have. Like, you know, you could join and what service you want to join. You want to join the Navy? You want to travel? I remember seeing guys in Riga, and they're like, "Yeah, we're on a tour now." And I'm like, "What do you mean you're on tour, mate? You're in Latvia?" And he's like, and I'm like, then it, you know, the penny drops, and I'm like, you can have that sort of life. Travel the world on a boat. Join the RAF, and you might be putting nice, you know,
the hotels,
mate.
This is I always get this brought up, man. I never stayed in the hotel once, mate. Never stayed.
Did you?
No, never.
First, mate. That is. It's just banter there,
mate,
isn't it?
How funny is all the same chat? Like, it's always the same pattern chat, like amongst like all the different stuff, man. But
it's in these various pages as well, and you just get bloke. I do feel a bit for the RAF, but if I'm honest, mate, but if a young lad come up to me, right, and I'd be like, look, join. I always go, you want to be looked after, you want good food, join the RAF.
Yeah.
I'm like, you get to see the world, mate. You get to do this. And you probably will be, you know. But if you want to join the army, you want that. If you like it, you want that. If you're that way inclined, and you want to, you know, sleep out somewhere for months on end, freezing cold, wet and hungry. But you can handle it. Join the military, mate. Join the army. Yeah, just do it.
Everyone just casts it as the same net, don't they? So when you speak to someone, everyone just thinks every single person in the military is just running about with a machine gun. Like,
yeah, they all think you're like.
It's just one job. Like, there's no other. There's nothing else. It's
they don't realise what you do, and there's different parts. You can be a bricklayer. In the army.
And
the RF, I think, as well. Like, there's like, and I think I always put it forward. I think it's great to be in the forces, because it installs discipline into you. It gives you a little bit of. It gives you camaraderie, team building. Gives you friends for life. You can get on these courses for free and get trained very well, and then if you want to, you can take these courses out into civilian street. So, and then you've got that mindset. You're like, okay, how can I grow next? What can I do next? It gives you that push. Gives you that growth mindset. I think it's a good kickstart in life.
I think so, and that's what I said to this guy when I was saying, he was like, "This is my plan here." I was like, because he was saying, do this for a bit and then become a coach, or I think he's obviously been inspired by seeing what I've done and stuff. But I was like, there's no definitive point. I was like, you do what you want to do, but it's when a lot of folk are doing it, I think, because I said to you, I didn't even know I was joining when I joined the forces. Like, I literally didn't even know. I went to be an engineer, then they were like that to me, you can't do that because you've got eczema. When I went for a medical, and I was like, right, what else is open?
And
then they were like, this is open, do this. And I was like, okay. Like, you don't even really know.
That's how it happens for a lot of guys, isn't it? They try to there's some guy from the Royal Anglians, because it's like one of the local regiments. He's like, oh, why don't you join? I'm like, nah. He's like, you could just do that, and you know, we do the same. I'm like, nah, I'm not joining that, man. Luckily, I did my research before.
I didn't do any, man. I didn't really know. Like,
a lot of guys that happens to. They're like, but I was looking at engineers actually, and I don't know, I respect that regiment, engineer regiment, like because they're.
My friend was an engineer.
Yeah, it's great. It's got a lot of diversity in the regiment doing different things. They've got the ID guys. They've got.
That's what he done.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, did he? Did the ID clearance? The OD.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
But going back to that, like, I think it'd be good. Like the guy, I didn't know it, but he was suffering. Like 2 years after my incident, I went to the welfare. My sergeant major called me in, and welfare officer, and they're like, "Would you come in?" Because the guy who stepped or missed the ID, he's suffering, and I'm like, "What?"
Honestly.
And I'm like, yes. I'm like, whoa, I didn't know. I was like, I'm getting on with life, all right, So I went in, and 2 guys came in, mate, and then one, after about 10, 20 minutes, just burst down crying. Like, this lad is a young lad, and I went, mate, can I have a word with you? Like, so I went outside. I went, look, I'm like, I'm happy, like, because I've heard this is affecting your family life. I heard this is affecting you. I said, you need to know that I'm okay. I'm okay. You cannot let this affect your family life. And after that, he was all right. Went on to do degrees and shit and all that.
Yeah, just for anyone that's watching, because we were speaking about that before, someone missed the ID.
Missed the ID, yeah.
Do you know what's so sad about that when you actually start to go down the route of, like, that someone probably laid that ID that probably was like a child. It was probably, I don't know, like, it could have been anybody. And look at the impact that has had. It's changed your life. It's probably created for other guys that were there, like families, people that have seen it, family. Friends. The person that actually was a clearance, do you know what I mean? The person clearing it actually affected you being damaged by that, affected them. Like that one thing, that one moment. And I bet you the person that, I don't know, like that person that even planted that might have just been doing it off orders, mindlessly. Just doing it I'm going to put this down here. And they don't even fit, like, everything has like a cataclysmic effect, doesn't it? Like, it's just insane, that one moment. Like, it's... As
soon as I went into that compound, first thing before, I looked at the guys, and because when there's IDs around, there's no ground sign whatsoever. I went, do not move out of the safe lane, lads. There's IDs everywhere here. And everyone's like, Roger, like, because it's... And there was. And there blatantly was. They did find more IDs. Because it's just... you know what you can imagine, the ground's all rugged and that, mate, and then it's all smooth. You're like, yeah. Or
looks like someone's been there. Like.
Yeah, there's no walk. There's no disturbance. That's what you look for.
Yeah, you look for unnatural things.
Yeah, you get used to it. You get a sixth sense of it after a while.
Yeah.
So do everyone, I think. Yeah. And that's I massive respect to the ED team. We went out of them. We provide cordons times as well, and I saw them go in, pick at the IEDs, mate.
That's terrifying, man.
Hideous. Like we used to find them. We were trained to find them, get them. We'd be like that. There's a picture of my mate. I'll try and find it for you if you want. He's just like that, like, laughing with it, like, next to an ID. And then we got the ED team in, and I actually found out weirdly, like when I was at Headley Court, there's a guy there lost both his limbs. That's where he lost his limbs. And I'm like, I remember seeing a hole, and I was like, did you lose? It's like Route Mars or something like that. And I'm like, because he was in the same patrol base as me, and I was like, mate, was that down here, down there? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, I fucking saw you got blown up, bro. Like, the fuck? Mad. And now I'm here with you. And he's like, yep, that was it.
That's
and there's more still IDs there.
Yeah. What was, so obviously you're now back in Birmingham. You've started going through like a rehabilitation process. Like, what was your mind like at that point, mate? Like, what was your head like? What was the realizations? What were you going through?
I was just like, really... I was just happy to be alive, to be honest. And I think like it made it quite easier for me because I was at Headley Court and I was at Birmingham with wounded soldiers as well. So you're just kind of like lying there bantering all day, watching Take Me Out on a Friday, mate, just like for the TVs and that. It was funny, to be honest. Yeah. And we're actually the favourite bay of the nurses because we just wind them up all day. It's great. And then like going home, everyone was just like coming to see me. Like a hospital, it was a bit overwhelming, to be honest. Yeah. Because everyone's like, it's great to have that support, but it's just also like intense. Exhausting. I was tired, man. Like seeing everyone.
Body's been through so much trauma as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, man. I'm lying there, like all these like things down me. And, like, I had a catheter, mate. That's the worst thing, mate. I had a catheter for like 3 or 4 weeks. I hated that. Oh, I was just like, yes, I've got a boner. Like, what can I do? She's like, I don't know. I'm like, what can I do? Like, it's just, can you help me out? She's like, "You cheeky devil." They're great, mate. They loved us. We're doing like. The guys are mega, mate. As soon as I got a wheelchair, because out there that happened. As soon as I got a wheelchair, we're doing like, because it was like a circle, so we're all like lining up, mate, like, and we called it like go-kart races.
Yeah.
We're all like, but we're like naked wheelchair races. So we're just going around there, like, and the nurses are like chasing us, and they're like, guys, you can't do this, and I'm like, no, he beat me yesterday, like, you know. We set all the double doors open so you could just go around.
Yeah.
Then you had like 2 nurses running after you. So yeah, you took it very well. Well, who I was with, we were fine, mate.
I think you need
So
that,
it was
don't
friends.
you?
Yeah, but you're all drugged up a little bit as well, so you're just kind of like high as a kite, mate. Yeah,
partying with like lost limbs.
Yeah, I think, and you're just happy to be all right. Yeah,
mate, that's good, man.
And after that, like Headley Court, like home, and then Headley Court. Headley Court was like Robocop City. It was incredible, man. Like it was fascinating to go there. And I just see people like missing limbs, prosthetics, walking around, cutting around, all types of different injury. We've got people who are blind, triple amps, and they're just getting on with it, mate.
Yeah.
But then you've got, I always remember this Royal Marine officer. No like amputations whatsoever, but he had shrapnel in his heart, so he couldn't work to a certain level.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't like his
heart rate
can go up because it could just.
Oh,
but they couldn't take the frag out because
it's like Iron Man stuff, isn't it?
Mental, man.
Yeah.
And then you had a guy partially blind, no legs, but then he'd be just happy as anything.
Yeah.
Guys who are in the United Nations as well. There's a guy from I think Czech Republic. He'd be there. I remember him being blind, and it's a big one, mate, because some of the guys might have took their ballistic glasses off, and then one of my friends had like all his limbs, but he had luckily the blast just got one of his legs, so you could see all the skin graft and his muscles hanging out, but then his hand was like that. And I think he got one of his fingers amputated at the end, but it never had the same functionality in it. But it's so funny, mate. Like, we used to go to the pub, and there'd be like, what, 2 legs between 11 of us or something, and then talking about this guy who's with us, and then we'd be doing a pub quiz. And you know what Surrey's like? It's very posh, and then we'd be like, we called his hand I was like, oh, it's like a crab, mate. So we're called Team Crab Hand. It's just it's outrageous, mate. So they're like, oh, the duets, and then it's like, oh, the Rockets, the Shepherds, Team Crab Hand. And then my mate's like, yeah. The way guys get on with it is amazing. However, saying that, some guys massively struggling, and there's obviously, beer is available there, and I noticed some guys are like drinking every day, and even I had friends coming in, oh, do you want to go to the Naffy? And I'm like, it's a Monday, mate. Yeah, mate. And then they go and clear off and polish 10 pints. So obviously they're suffering. So, we're all built differently.
Yeah, it's hard, like, when the mines went through something like that, and like the trauma that builds up and replaying stuff like that. Did you have any of that experience at all, or?
I'm going to be honest with you, mate. No.
Honestly?
No, like, thing that affected me, if I'm honest, is friends. And also how it affected my family. Yeah, like that kind of hit me one day, like, because I didn't really think about it. And then the guy, obviously, who knocked on my parents' door, obviously this is during like op minimized, so you can't go back on like social media or can't call back home or anything until the family's been notified. My dad, the way my dad described it, knocked on the door, saw a guy in a black suit, and he thought. And he's just, his heart just sank. And my dad's not very, he can't let out his emotions and all that. But the way he described it, I know it got to him. Opened the door, the guy's standing there. And he goes, are you the father of Luke Morrison? He's like, yeah. And he just grabbed him on the shoulder. He's like, he's badly injured, but he's okay. Just quickly got that out there. And this guy's ex-forces as well.
Yeah, he had to do
I think
he's
ex-Remy. He's doing his welfare role at the time. Really nice, really cool guy. And then obviously my mum, I didn't really think about this because I was just still a young lad, mate. And I've still got that, like, robustness, and I'm like just cracking on with it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And even my girlfriend at the time was like annoyed that she waited for me, bless her. Like, she did wait for me, and then she wanted to go on holiday and this, and I'm just like, well, I can't. I've got to get on with it. And I just had a very get on with it attitude, you know. But then I like it hurt. Yeah, for me, my family, man, like how it kind of had that ripple effect.
How was your mum with it?
She didn't really let me, but she was very like, you're right, you know, like she was very, you know, trying to wrap me up a lot and stuff like that. And yeah, I can't blame her, but I kind of let her do that, you know. I could see that even when I was quite young. So I was like, I just let her, because I think that's how she felt good and felt like she was doing something by helping me. Yeah, dad, even though his dad, like in hospital, he's like, you're right, mate, like fanning me and stuff, and I'm like, what are you doing, mate? Just chill out. Yeah. And the first thing I said to him, though, they knew that I was okay, though, because I woke up initially about 2 hours. They come to see me in the hospital, kind of like going back a tiny bit here, and I looked at him and my dad. I'm like, I'm gonna have to have one of them pirate legs, aren't I? And that's when they know, because they know me, they know my character.
Yeah.
You know? My mate, my sister is dating a para at the time. He's on his R&R, and he's like, "Oh, cheers, mate." Like, you know, on my R&R, and did you miss me that much? You had to go blowing up, and I'm like, "Yeah, mate. It's, you know, brothers, bro."
Yeah.
But you know that attitude, right?
Yeah.
You have to be careful when you bring it into civilian street, because I can say stuff, and I had to be very careful when I kind of got out of the military, because the humour is very different.
Dark.
It's very dark, man. Like, it's very dark, and you can rip each other to shreds. You know, if there's something wrong with you, you'll soon like blokes will just rip you to shreds of it. And then but the good thing about that is when you get out of the military, is like nothing ever phases you. Yeah. So I actually miss people giving me shit. Yeah. Like if someone's, because I could banter people, but if they give me some crap, I'm like, oh mate, yeah, brilliant, give me it.
Some of the nicknames that you got and stuff, man, were like savage. Like,
oh, mate,
did you ever get nicknames that like it was a nickname of a nickname of like a nickname? It would be like, why is that person called that? Oh, it's because they look like this, and that's what that's called. And it's like,
we had like you know, cowhead. What? Yeah. Head of a cow. Cowhead. You know, the truth, because he's full of shit. Do you know what I mean? It was just like combi. You know, remember the combi tools, the rifles. Bloke like called combi teeth, like. You know, and then blokes used to do it with. I
like all descriptive things about like something about what you do, like tombstone teeth or something.
Oh, like morale, like the Hoover. Oh, yeah, like, absolute. You know, be a bloke who you just spend 2 minutes with it, and you're like, mate, why do I want to kill myself?
Someone was called Yawn because they were just so fucking boring.
Oh, man.
The nicknames are just brutal.
It's great, isn't it?
I was called Samehead because I looked like another guy. And then it was because I looked like the other guy, and it was because of people with a certain disability looked like each other. Mate, it was like brutal. Like,
it's great though, isn't it?
Yeah.
How much you like it, but you get used to it, right?
Yeah.
There's a guy. Remember what's that? God, that film, Superbad. Yeah. And then there's a guy who looked like Fogel in it, mate, and it's brilliant because it's just. I was like, so obviously he was McLovin. Yeah. Like, and we even did like him an ID card and everything. McLovin, mate. But like, oh, like, you know McLovin, yeah. Or there was Jonesy, and we used to call this guy called Gay Jonesy. He wasn't gay, but he just. But everyone, I actually didn't find out how he called it, why he's called Gay Jonesy. We actually weren't gay, but everyone's just like, oh, Gay Jonesy, because there was too many Joneses. So I think they just couldn't name him Gay Jonesy. And we had this guy, mate. Like, there's Mr. X, like. Oh man, it was incredible, mate.
It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah. It's great. The humour in that was just second to none.
Yeah. And then like someone picks up a nickname somewhere for something like pure unfortunate as well, and it just sticks with them, man.
And if you bite, if you snap a little bit, blokes will just keep going until you break a little bit more. Yeah. So you can't show them that you're annoyed. Yeah. You know, you just crack on with it. Yeah. And it was literally that. Yeah.
It's funny when you meet people though, because actually when I was in Dubai the other week, it was me and Ailey's last night, and see McDonald's in Dubai, by the way, it's heavy good. McDonald's.
Yeah, I've been, yeah.
Really, I don't know why McDonald's is so
good. Do the brunch thing where you pay like 50 quid or you can drink it.
Yeah. But we went to like actual McDonald's, like Mackey's, like.
Oh, do you mean McDonald's? I was thinking about that
no,
Irish.
Mate, no, like,
Oh, yeah,
like
okay.
McDonald's. Someone told us like they do McDonald's really well. And the last night I went, I'm gonna get a double cheeseburger, best double cheeseburger ever, right?
Yeah.
And if you're talking about Dubai McDonald's, but when I was in there, I just bumped into a guy that I hadn't seen in fucking years, man. That guy that was in like the same shift as me and everything, man. Like it was mad, and it's funny when you just like you pick up with these folk exactly. I haven't seen the guy in like 9 years.
And is he living out there now?
Yeah, he was out there on holiday. So yeah, he's still in. He's an officer now. So I know
it's crazy, isn't it? All the lads are like getting colour sergeants and that, and I'm like, what?
I know, man. It's mad. There's a couple of folk that I join with that are like fucking warrant officers.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, they're going the warrant officer.
Yeah, it's mad.
Like, what, mate?
I know, mate. It's madness.
You see them all in there, the smart mess doos and that, and I'm like, It's amazing. It's like sliding doors, isn't it? This instance happened to me, and that could have been me, like staying in.
Yeah.
Or I could have been out. You know, I could have gone the more the hostile security route. Who knows? You know.
Yeah, it's mad how things happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's interesting, just like now, like because I joined 2011. Like how different everyone's life is, and people that it's just interesting to see how things go. But
yeah, what they do, what your friends do, what they're doing now.
Yeah,
you know, like for me, like a bit like a gypsy, mate. I just love traveling, man. Like I think, you know, everyone's like, oh, you met anyone out anywhere? I think the best thing to me to do to meet somebody, because I've done the long distance thing, and I think it's just once I'm settled somewhere, once I'm settled, it'll come. You know, because I can't be somewhere for like 2 weeks, a month, 3 months and clear off. It doesn't work.
Yeah, 100%, man. So, like, after, what was one of the things I was going to say there? Like, obviously, how different did life become after? Like, obviously, you had to adjust to having one leg, and like, what was the sort of biggest things that like kind of caught you off guard? Or
stairs, mate.
Yeah,
they became my enemy.
Yeah,
I was like, the enemy. I'd be like, we meet again. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, I learned how to go up and down them eventually, but I'd be like, fuck. Especially when when I started walking again and started going out.
Yeah.
People are drunk, right? And then you can't, and everyone just like leaning on the stairs, the rail, because you used to use a rail to go up and down.
Yeah.
And I'm like people can't see when I got jeans on, so I'm like, they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, fake leg, just watch out. They're like, oh, sorry, mate. You know, move out of the way. Mainly that, like, obviously it's the wheelchair first, and then the kind of evolvement, if you like, from it was, first it was like kind of crutches, then it was kind of like one crutch, then you go on to like walking sticks, so you've got these like handle walking sticks to give you a bit of balance, then it's one walking stick, then it's kind of like just walking normal. And it takes a while to adjust as an amputee. Yeah. You know, I'd say it takes every amputee kind of anything between 3 to 4 years, 2 to 4, to properly adapt.
I can imagine.
Your stump shrinks and everything. You've got to realise how you get rubs. You can get infections in it. Like, you know, you've got to self-prayer. And they don't teach you any of this. So I had to kind of like, I just learn myself, like, what to do if I've got a rub, or I just kind of got IED. Yeah, I just found my own way, you know.
Do you still have to treat it quite a lot now? And like, is there a lot of care involved in it now?
Not really, but, you know, ready for anything, as we used to say in the Paras, as well as your podcast. Yeah. Ideal, mate. Literally, I am good to go, mate, for everything. I've got antibiotics, med kit, saline, you name it. Yeah. Like, it is just there. Just
is that your blue bag? Huh? Is that the blue bag you've got?
The blue bag, I've got a few things. Yeah, I've actually got a non-friction kind of rub, kind of like if you got a blister. So like if I've got a little rub, I can spray that on. I haven't got Inidine in there. I've got Inidine back, but everything's back really. That's just got a few little bits and bobs in, sun cream and that really, to be honest.
Yeah. See, you said there about the ready for anything thing. Someone, who was it that said to me? Someone actually just messaged me out the blue recently. We're like, were you in the Parachute Regiment? And I was like, no, how come?
I was thinking, I wonder if he put his head down because he's thinking my podcast is ready for anything. I wonder if he brings it up.
No, because I went, why has he said that? Like, and I didn't realise it was like
mate. It's a cool thing, right? It's actually, you drink grey paratas, ready for anything. Like, because that's obviously, you know, the quote of it, and it's a great quote, and it's it's literally just like you are ready for anything.
That's what like our brand's all about. Yeah,
exactly.
It's like
same thing.
That's why we're chatting about what we're chatting about today, because ready for anything is something that like I've always been quite fascinated by. Like even when I was in in the forces. I remember being like, I always loved this idea of being self-sufficient. I don't like being relying on anything. Like I like being totally self-sufficient. And
Nice.
I remember, like, as I said, I wasn't super fit when I was younger or anything. Then as I started to, like, when I went to my first unit, I remember it was like loads of people, your phys was left to you. And then you had to test every year. Like it was like, because we were on a, depending what unit you were on or where you were at, but we were like pretty much like where I was first based at Bulmer, like it's pretty much like an operations centre. You were in your number 2 dress, like you never wore like greens or anything like that. And then people in different units in my trade might be like a more deployable unit. There was like another version of it, which was the deployable version of it. And
which they have, don't they?
Yeah,
like they have, like you're all training the same thing, but then you could be training something extra and go to a different unit, helicopter, whatever.
And as I said, there was even our trade would even be detached to work with 9 Parachute Regiment with the giraffe radar. So there was all sorts of different stuff, but I can't even remember what was taught. Oh, the ready for anything thing. So and I remember being like at this unit, and there was this mentality that I started to see, like just like folk were like, there's just a fitness test you do every year, and I was just watching folk like start to cut corners, like, and I remember just being like, nah man, like I'm gonna make sure that when I do that every year, like I'm at the best I can be for it, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna hold myself to that standard. And then I remember like I remember started being like, well, if I'm in the forces, I need to look like I'm in the forces, and that's when I started taking my physique more seriously, and I started taking my training. It was like, and it became this like sort of like I watched other people let that disempower them.
You train your body to do that, and your mental state. Like it takes time. You can't just, you do get the genetically gifted. Like weirdos. But you know, I was a trainer. I trained like, and I push and push and push. But people don't realize how strong that is, mate. A lot of people don't realize how strong that is.
Because it's so easy to. And this is, I always remember the thing that the fitness test was a big one for me, and it was a big sort of like point of like, man, everyone like takes the path of least resistance, man. Like when there's not even an option there, but like there's this like, you do this test every year and everyone's looking at it like, what's the minimal? I don't get paid anymore to do that. And I was like, that's not the point, man.
Jacking on themselves, man.
You're like, you're leaving so much. And I think that mentality has been a big reason why I've experienced success in other parts of my life, because I've been like, because you just don't tolerate it in that.
Because it's hard when you do it, but then when it becomes normality, right, then it's like, it's easy to get up like 4:30 or 5 in the morning, then go to the gym and do that, because you just do it. Like, but then the first time you ever, I'm just using that as an example, the first time you ever do something like that, you're like, what the hell, why am I doing this?
What is this?
You going like, you come into the gym or something like that, like, oh. And then someone's like all bubbly, you're like, mate, like,
off.
But then eventually you're just like,
and you're that person.
You just walk in the room like, boom, I'm here, motherfuckers. You know, and it's just it's hard. You just got to get in that routine with things, and that becomes in every aspect of life, right? Work, commitment, consistency. So you just got to be consistent and just want it.
We've been having this chat a lot recently about, like, I was even talking to someone yesterday that was also, they were a nutrition performance coach, and they were chatting yesterday. We were just talking about like, people think you're gallivanting doing things like doing this, and it's like folk don't realise how disciplined you need to be. Like you need to be like so disciplined, man, to even be in the position to do something like that, to turn up. Like even like things like that, sort of that mindset I was talking about, I take that into everything at my work. There's so many points in the week where I go, I can't be fucked doing this today. But then I always go like that. But this is the bit where most folks stop. So I'll just keep going. And I have that conversation daily, like with training, with work, with even if I'm sitting there and it sounds like a pure first world problem, I've got 2 emails to write, and I'm like, oh, I'll leave it to tomorrow, and I'm like, no,
do it now.
Do it now.
Just do it then.
Do it now. Like,
otherwise it'll be tomorrow. Tomorrow.
It's just do it now, man. And it's like everything. It's like folk don't see that bit. They don't see those tiny.
They don't see the things, and they don't know what's going on with your life. Like I don't think people think I work, mate. Like I travel, and they ain't got a clue what I'm doing. I go home, and I had like some. I think there's a party going on back home. And this girl was like, "You don't work," and I said, I went, "Cause I don't post about it. I was actually working the last 2 years. Little do you know." Like, but people just like assume things. You know, they don't see the hard work behind it. And you know, I've learned a lot, especially in places like Bali. You'll learn like the content creators, or if you're creating stuff, there's a lot of work that goes behind it, and a lot of time and effort and strategic plans, because you're doing your thing. You know, you're doing your thing, and I've seen it with the guys. They're on the grind, man, and that's everywhere. A lot of travellers do that, and I've seen it all around Asia. And it's great to see.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It makes you want to work harder. Then when you meet more people like that, it makes you want to like
pick your crowd. You know, like if you're with people, and I believe it, you're with people who are lazy, and you hang like, and that's why I found myself a lot like doing stuff alone a lot of times, because I was just like, you know, I was in that environment with fit, strong-headed individuals, and then you're coming out, and then people just like, ugh. And before you know it, you're like, ugh, because they'll just rub off on you.
You need to. I had this conversation with a lot of clients, and I was actually even talking to a friend about it recently that's going through like a big change in his life, like decided to come away from alcohol and stuff, and he was just saying to me like he's realised like a lot of parts of his life that he's not been happy, and I was like, that's because you've not been working on them. You need to start working on them.
They know they need to change.
Yeah, and
they don't want to. They just can't be bothered.
And then when they start changing, they start realising that there's so many parts of their life that relationships, like friendships, that aren't actually friends, they're like acquaintances or
users. Or
yeah. And it's like then you start going like, oh shit, I need to actually go and work on relationships. Like I need to go and build connections, meaningful connections that like your postcode and what school you went to shouldn't be the only thing that dictates your circle. And that's what a lot of folk let. And it's not saying that you just go like, no, I hate that chat about like get rid of people. That it's not get rid of them, but go and find people that are going to elevate your state. Yeah, like
what's going to benefit you.
Yeah, what's going to make you
even
think.
Your partner, right? Like if you're, you know, you're going in a relationship. What do you drive me? Do you bring that to me? You know, like it's everything. But like I got friends, you know, people just they're comfortable. They don't want to take that leap out the comfort zone. I love being out of my comfort zone, mate. Skydive, you know, everything. I'm like, I rock up and I'm just like, I love rocking up to drop zone. I'm like, all right. And they're like, you all right? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, skydiver, what you got to offer me? And they're like, what? I'm like, let's go, mate. Like, oh, you jumped, yeah? How many jumps you got? I'm like, oh, I got like 450, 500 jump, mate. Oh, cool. What can you do? I'm like, this. Can I jump with you? And it's just sick, mate.
Yeah. I know, I'm the same, mate. I love it. Like, and I know when I'm in it. Like I pure recognise when I'm in it. Do you know that like interesting ones? So I was talking to you before. I done the static freefall course.
Yeah.
Weston on the Green.
Yeah,
that's
Weston. I've jumped there.
Yeah, that's the name.
That's near Bryce, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right next to Bryce. Yeah, so
that's where I've jumped.
Yeah.
So I did my course.
Yeah, that's exactly where I done it as well, man. And when I went there, was that wee dog. Came in the other day, man, for a wee hello. But the RAF Weston on the Green.
Yeah.
I went there and it was 4 jumps in the week. And now, mate, I've been to Dubai twice. Well, I've been to Dubai 3 times, but the last year I've been twice, and I keep saying I'm going to do the free fall.
Oh, do it, man.
And mate, but like I keep shitting out of it. Like it's the one, like see my fear of heights. It's got way worse. Like I get that feeling. It's got a name. It's you're at a ledge and you want to jump off, not in a suicidal way. Like it's like,
all right.
Like I get this like horrible feeling, mate. Like it's like I'm at a ledge and I feel sick and everything, man. Like
you need to attack that, man.
Yeah, I need to go.
Yeah, because then it's just like, gosh, I've conquered.
Like
that.
I do go and sit. Like so, see when the buildings in Dubai are huge. I just sat in the balcony and it's like glass.
No, seriously, mate. Like so for me as a skydiver, right?
Yeah.
Like I would be on a tall hotel building, but one of them weird balconies, you know, like Thailand or something. And I'll be like, whoa! It gives me like,
yeah, that's what I get.
Get me in a plane, mate. I'll be. Yeah, shit. I like you always feel nervous in a plane. I'm not gonna big it up or mates think I'm not. Like every skydiver will be like, because every jump's different and things can go wrong. But as soon as I jump out, that feeling's amazing. It is incredible. But I've got to the point now with it, like I can. It's not my life, like it. But I like to do it when I can. And Philippines, then they're okay. Some okay jobs and they're very small. It depends on the winds and that. And there's like loads of like. Electrical wires everywhere or whatever. So if you're going to jump somewhere, I'll jump somewhere like Dubai.
Yeah.
Or somewhere tropical or a beach or something.
I'm going to do it next time in Dubai.
Don't do it in the UK.
You've got my word, mate. I'm going to do it. Because I've said last 2 times, man, that you've inspired me to do it. Because I keep saying, I'm going to do it. And Neely's like, you're going to do it?
Out, you got the palm there. You'll be like looking out. Oh, you'll love it, man.
Yeah,
you'll be jumping out. And
I've done. The mad thing is, I've jumped out of plane.
You've jumped. Mate, tandem's easier.
Yeah.
I had my mate.
I actually thought this time because I jumped in myself.
That's what I've never. I had one tandem, but I was actually licensed skydiver. Another guy, mate, he's ex-para, but he's Hereford now. He made me laugh because he come down and he's like, Luke, like, because I know they needed somebody to do their like reassessment for tandem, and I'm like, all right, mate, how are you? You all right? And he's like, yeah. I was like, do you want me to jump out here? And so we jumped out. Bear in mind, this guy's Hereford's SAS lad as well, but he's funny, mate. He's only a small lad. And then we jump out, and then we're like turning a little bit because of my leg, and then he's under, and he's like, mate, do you want to? He's like, do you want to take the toggles? And I'm like, fuck off. I'm like, mate, Scott. He's like, all right, prick. But he loves it, mate. The lads are just there to say it's good little money earner, good little side gig. Yeah. For some of the guys, you get to jump out of planes with people and just earn money. Yeah,
no, I always remember like one of the guys I worked with. He went and done the next course and because once you get free good all the ways, you then do a pool, don't you? And then like once you've done that, you then move on to your next course and you get all your quals and stuff.
Yeah, the old way of doing it was static first, and then going to skydiving, right? And then, but they kind of, I think they still do it in places. They still do that at Nottingham. You can still do static line, get that jump.
Mate, the static line was terrifying when I done it. Like I remember just being so scared, and there was like, I remember at the time there was 2 girls on the course, and I was first, and I just went, I will die. Like I will actually I was so scared, and I was like, I can't back out of going. There's 2 girls on the flight.
I had 2 Army Commando lads teach me in Elsinore in California when I did my course. And I always remember, I actually learned as an amputee. Like, but, I did my military jumps obviously, but I never skydived freefall. That came up, and I was like, oh, I'm doing that. And I always remember, and I have no like qualms about, how I felt. But that I was up there. They're like, oh, airborne's getting airborne. How'd you feel? And I was like, yeah, all right. I was like, all right, yeah. I was shitting a brick. Yeah. Like my ass. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was shitting. But I said I'm not gonna let these know that. Yeah. Because I know they would have just ripped me, man. Yeah. Obviously, I jumped out, and then after that, I was like, this is amazing. Yeah. But a lot of skydivers would even do 20 jumps, 30 jumps, and then they'd go to drop zone. And it's that feeling they get nervous about it, and they'd drive home. Yeah. You just have to keep doing it. Yeah, I remember the first time I done it, and I remember just being like, after like just the adrenaline kick, the dump was like insane. I was so tired after it. Yeah, I'd max out of about six jumps. 6 jumps is enough for me. Like that's like kind of I could push to 8 if it was like spread out, but 6 jumps I'd be shattered, mate. Yeah. Like, I'd be so tired. I mean, you sleep well.
Yeah, you do. You really, really do, man. But mate, it's been an incredible chat, man.
Been brilliant, man.
It's been really, really good. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you, mate. And like, I meant that when I said that the other day. Like, I was super impressed, man. And even from chatting today, like, super impressed as well, mate. Like, very, very inspiring guy, man. And I hope this episode's influenced a lot of people to just kick on, man. Like, there's always a bright side, man, to everything that you go through, and like, you're really showing that, mate. So yeah,
cool. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to have me on, mate. And I'd like, especially with a veteran as well, it's been mega. Yeah. Even got the tash and everything.
Yeah, I know, mate. Someone said that, man. That's a pure raft tash, and I was like, it's not.
Nice one.
But no, mate, thanks very much for coming on. And guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you took a lot away from it. As always, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching it on Spotify, listen to it on Spotify, give us a rating. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the episode. See you later. Goodbye.